On today's episode, the aim is really to talk about preferences and trying to understand what might have inspired such preferences and how, as a society, we can hope to change a systemic issue, or better still, as an individual, we can reflect and understand what inspired our preferences. Welcome back, guys. This is Madness in Nigeria Living, and I'm your host, Casey. Sometimes my decade is pink is a topic I've been thinking about for years, actually, way before I ever thought of creating a podcast. The thought process first came when someone asked the question, if you are going to write a rap album, what's going to be the title of the rap album? And I said, sometimes my decade is pink. The person started laughing. But the next question was like, why that? What inspired that kind of title? Because that's an interesting title, we can all agree. And I said it was a conversation I had in 2020. I was talking to a friend. We naturally started talking about sex, and she said she really loves giving head, but prefers to give it more when she finds the dick attractive. And I asked, what is an attractive dick for you? And then she said she prefers guys with their dickhead being pink. I started laughing because if you are from Nigeria and you're in Nigeria, you know the vast majority of people who have pink dickhead have to be lighter skinned. But since then, I've been thinking about the concept. And I've also been thinking about it from the viewpoint of guys, because I've asked guys too. And a similar conversation usually goes, they naturally don't like giving head, but when they want to give head, they'll prefer if the vagina is pink looking. And it's like, what's the obsession with pink? But the answer is very obvious. It's really not an obsession with pink. It's an obsession with lighter skin. I would say for Nigerians, the concept of colorism is more so Eurocentric beauty standards. What we consider beautiful is closeness to whiteness. If you have never paused to think about it, maybe in this moment, just pause this podcast and think about it. Growing up, what did you consider beautiful? And this is quite an interesting topic, especially since I'm a darker skinned guy. If you look at the beauty standards in Nigeria growing up here, our best bet to point to would be Miss Nigeria and the modeling industry. You would see that the vast majority of the modeling industry and the winners when I was younger were lighter skinned women. They were the ones more likely to win. The further you do deep dive, you start seeing the same pattern. When we're watching Nollywood movies, the guy that plays the role of a fine boy, a fine soft boy, is usually the lighter skinned guy. And even in a country like Nigeria, where the vast majority is darker, you would think it would be easier to flip the narrative, but that's not true. And when you also look at other things, people that have straighter hair, natural straighter hair, were considered more beautiful because their hair was closer to that of an Oyinbo. And that's the thing, our beauty standard is very much linked to whiteness. If you see someone with blue eyes, green eyes, amber color eyes, they are considered cuter. If you see someone with pinker lips, they're considered cuter. Speaking of pink lips, I naturally have a dark black lips, and all my life I've been told, do you smoke? And then when I was in SS2, SS3, I think, pink lips started trending. One of the funniest interactions I had was with a friend. He bought pink lips cream and he started applying on his own lip to get pink. And I was like, why are you doing this? He said, now the trend, and I fine. I was like, fair. But why not go for, like, there was a tattoo procedure as at then was 5k that would make your lips permanently pink, and there was the cream that was about 2000. So I was like, why not just go for that procedure? And it was like, what if black lips start to trend? What I could do? We both laughed, and it was just the kind of conversation that most people will forget. I'm even certain if he's listening to the podcast, he might not even remember he was the one who said this. But the conversation stuck to me in two ways. There was the obvious concept of understanding that trends come and go and just following the trends because it's what's trending. And now understanding that even if the trend changes, it does not restructure. So for example, now darker skinned people are trending. Whether or not you like it, the dark skinned boy, the hot. But the problem is the restructuring is still not happening. And the reason the restructuring is not happening is because the trend of the darker skin is not a systemic change. Some years back, I don't really follow fashion in Nigeria, but I think last year or 2 years ago, Miss Nigeria was a darker skin lady. And people started insulting her, like, oh, she's not cute, she's ugly, she doesn't even look fine, how did she win? And fundamentally speaking, she's cuter if you want to look at just the structure of their face. Why did nobody complain about the previous one? And maybe they did, but I didn't see it. So what I saw was the darker skin person won, and then people are complaining she's not even as cute. But for someone who knows that lighter skin people have always been winning, the conversation of someone being as cute was never had. Now, first bias I'm going to point out here is this. I might not have noticed because confirmation bias, it's easier for me to see discrimination against darker skin people than it is to see discrimination against lighter skin people. I acknowledge that. But going back to that conversation here, if there are more lighter skin people winning that award, a darker skin person winning it, and I think that award is really not only about look, there are other criteria. Why is her face the problem? Pause. Generally speaking here, if you look at the concept of colorism all over again in Nigeria, you're not see that is deeply rooted in Eurocentric standards of beauty. And the reason I'm going back to this is this. If you look at when we were growing up, as a boy, you can't grow out your hair in Nigeria. Generally speaking, most schools will not let you grow out your hair, except you're mixed or you're white. The same is true for girls. If you're a guy and you're growing out your hair, you have to plait it, you have to braid it, you can't just let it flow, except you're mixed race. So that's Eurocentric standard. And the fact that those Eurocentric standards happen also funds the bleaching industry, because a lot of Nigerians are bleached at one point in time. In fact, to a lot of Nigerians, the whole idea of being finer has to do with being lighter in skin. And I know this personally because I get lighter during Harmattan period. For some reasons, my skin tends to get lighter during Harmattan period, and I get the most compliment on my look during Harmattan period. It's not like they'll tell me, oh, you are lighter, so you're beautiful. No, they don't say that. They'll just say, they say you're looking beautiful today. On this period, you didn't enjoy us. That's you fine. Those kind of comments, I noticed it because I also noticed my skin get lighter during that period. And now, there's a comment I would want to highlight now. I told someone that, have you noticed you only compliment my look during this period every year? And it's because my skin is lighter? And then the guy say, maybe not your true color. What you maintain your true color. 9 months out of the year, 10 months out of the year, that's not my true color. Is the 1 month of Harmattan, 2 months of Harmattan, that is my true color. That's a very interesting way to look at what true color is. If I focus too much on my own experiences, it will be like, okay, that's your personal experience. And that might be true. But the part of it that might not necessarily be true is police harassment. If you have ever gone out with a lighter skin person and police stop you guys, you notice they interact more with you, the darker skin person, as a criminal than they would the lighter skin person. And if you think I'm lying, ask your lighter skin friend how their interaction with police go. The interaction is slightly different, and that is because there are a lot of reasons as to why this is deeply rooted in our psyche. For one, I would argue that our colonial masters did a good job with positioning whiteness to being right and blackness to being wrong. I would also argue double consciousness from over consuming Hollywood and foreign movies and seeing that the light skinned person is usually the hero, the darker skinned person is usually the drug lord in the street. All those kind of positioning mentally make you feel more threatened by a darker skinned person than you would a lighter skinned person. And this is a problem that exists. There are dark skinned girls that their mothers start forcing to bleach at a very young age. There are dark skinned people that feel inferior because of their blackness. Those light skinned people have their own struggles. Yes, they do. They definitely do. I asked my former roommate this question when I was trying to record this episode, and he said if he goes to a party, he cannot go for a second plate of rice because his face is very noticeable. As much as that is funny to say, but it's true, because we live in a society that have more darker skinned people. Lighter skinned people are more noticed. With that being noticed is being forced to be placed on a pedestal that dehumanizes some of them. It makes the experience for some of them not comfortable, especially for people that don't want to be seen, for people that are introverted. Being forced to be seen the whole time is not something that makes their living easy, especially for women that try to navigate the everyday world and then they get harassed for their skin color and they're like, oh, Yibo, oh, fine woman, all those kind of things. But then again, if you still look at that concept, you see that the same is true for any person that is seen as beautiful by any standard, because whether or not you like it, you are fair, you are dark, as a woman you are going to get sexually harassed because we live in a fucked up society. Whether or not you like it, as a man that you are beautiful, you'll be considered a playboy and a fuckboy whether or not you are fair. Yes, fairer people are more likely to be told that, but at the same time, it's not because they are inherently fair. It's more so because there's a demographic that we consider beautiful, and that beautiful demographics have been associated with this negative part. In Nigeria, there are some privileges that come with being lighter skinned. There's often being seen as inherently more innocent because of your skin. And how can we change that? We can change that by questioning our preference. That's my viewpoint on this. We can change that by questioning our preference. You have always dated the lighter skin person. You have always dated the darker skin person. Question your preference. What made you prefer this skin tone? What experiences? When was the first time you noticed your preference for this skin tone? And understanding that in maintaining that preference, a physical based preference only, you push a narrative that someone in the other skin tone has to battle. And if that other skin tone is not the minority or the majority, it is quite problematic for them to navigate the world. Now, as you as an individual, can you make a big difference? Probably not, but it takes one person to change the mindset. Because a girl saying, oh, she wants to get married to a white person so she can born a light-skinned kid is the kind of pressure that is forced on the kid. Imagine she actually gets married to a white person or a light-skinned person and their kid is black. How is she going to love that kid? How is he going to love that kid? Because there are guys who have the same mindset. And the same is true for people who prefer darker skin people. If you prefer darker skin people and you generally trust them because they look more like you, where you are skeptical about lighter skin people, question where that mindset comes from, what experiences, and try to grow, unlearn those experiences. You'll see that there's beauty in both darker skin people and lighter skin people. And we should not, for one, even focus too much on physical beauty. When we think about human interaction, we should think about the interaction of their moral ethics, their viewpoint, how it aligns with ours, and how it pushes society forward, and not based on looks, and very much not based on the skin tone. And please stop bleaching. Jesus Christ, please stop bleaching. You're beautiful. Whether you're caramel, darker chocolate, or better still, you're ugly, because if we're being honest, the vast majority of people are actually very ugly. Let me not lie and say you're beautiful. Please, you're ugly physically speaking, and that's okay. Ugliness is also good. Just be beautiful inside, and there will be somebody out there that will like you for you. Thank you for coming. Mwah.